If you're looking for more adventures from Nicola Berry and the Space Brigade, then today's book just might be for you. Today I will be covering Nicola Berry and the Wicked War on the Planet of Whimsy by Liane Moriarty. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're looking at the final book in the Nicola Berry series. These are books designed for children to the teenage years. They are a series of books that are about this young girl, Nicola Berry, who has been tapped by an intergalactic force, essentially. Initially, she was tapped to go solve a problem that addressed just the planet Earth, but then her and her friends quickly become known throughout the galaxy as the Space Brigade, who are capable of taking on all sorts of really difficult problems. And this is the final book in the series. This book, to give you a really quick synopsis, deals with a planet called Whimsy, which is supposedly this incredibly beautiful planet that's so beautiful that everyone living on it is incapable of doing anything except for the arts. So they're always writing operas or poems or songs or anything along that line to show appreciation for their incredibly beautiful planet. But it's actually within another planet called the Planet of Vulcamania, which is a planet that is covered in volcanoes, and therefore the people living on the planet not only have developed some kind of skin to resist all of the constantly erupting volcanoes, but they also have basically no fertile ground to grow plants. So they rely on whimsy, but as I said, they have this problem of doing just regular hard work, and so they are overtaken by the planet of Vulcamania. That leads to Nicola Berry and her friends trying to come to the rescue of the planet Whimsy. Also, there's some other characters involved that make it so they have to go. And the book will be detailing how they come to the rescue of the Planet of Whimsy. And that's all the synopsis I think you really need, because again, these books are intended for a younger audience, and I think telling you much else will probably give away too much of what you would probably want to get out of these books. I've said in my other two reviews about this book series is they're a little silly, and that's probably going to be my biggest complaint. However, I did like this one the most. And it was in this book that I came to a realization that even though there's a lightheartedness to the way Liane Moriarty is addressing actually real problems, I realized that this is a way for her to talk about war. In the first book, she talks about the environment. In the second book, she talks about workers' rights. All of these are major topics that she does use a lighthearted touch to bring them to children. For example, there's no real weapons in these books, so there's very little risk of people dying, despite the fact that this book has war in it. The point is to introduce children to pretty important topics, but to try to do it in a way that is not overwhelming. And I think I felt a little more appreciation for that in this book than I did in the first two. On top of that, there is constant humor, which sometimes come off as a bit too silly, but as a whole, I think it is there to help add necessary development to the characters that make them a little more entertaining. So who would I recommend this for? Well, just like the other two books, it is for a younger audience. We're talking middle school to elementary. They are chapter books, but I wouldn't say that there's too much in them that would interest people much older than that. And I think there's a few things that might come off just a little too superficial or a little too ridiculous for anyone older than that. That being said, as I've said with the other two books, I very much look forward to reading these books with my own daughter when she gets old enough. Question is what is old enough? I suspect probably by the age of 8 to 10, she will be old enough to appreciate these books, but not too old to think that they're just not for her. And I would recommend it to anyone that has read the first two books. I would not necessarily recommend just jumping into this one, but clearly the structure of these books means that if you wanted to read this on its own, you could. I don't know why you would, but I think it's totally possible. There is not too much important information that comes in the two books before this to not be able to understand the premise of this book. Who wouldn't I recommend this for? Well, anyone that's a little older. So again, we'll say over the age of 14, probably aren't going to find this book too interesting, unless you're reading it with someone that's a little younger that can still appreciate it for you. On top of that, it does have sci-fi elements, so if that's not something that even a younger reader is interested in, then this probably isn't going to appeal to them either. Not that it is overly scientific or overly complicated in the way it explains things. It uses a lot of just simple contraptions or simple concepts to just explain away anything that's too challenging, like faster than light travel or anything like that. So you don't have to be bogged down with the science of it if that's a concern. But I would say overall that this is a book that is useful for younger people that want to explore the idea of new worlds, and younger readers that are interested in looking at real topics, but trying to do it in a way that won't necessarily overwhelm them. And I think that that's who this book is perfect for. Of course, I'm interested in what you guys have to say about this book. Please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.